Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to go through my new decision flowchart for organizing fabrics and papers for crafting. So this flowchart, I made it to help myself decide what to do with different pieces that I've bought. So I came up with a bunch of questions that helped me sort of navigate through this nebulous mountain of supplies and, decide what to do with everything and how to store it. So, in the end, you will get, if you follow this, you will get a bunch of boxes with ingredients for different kinds of journal elements. So I have one flowchart for fabrics and one for paper because they're slightly different, but the questions you have to go through are very, very similar, almost identical. So I'm going to go through the fabric flowchart quickly, just to give you an overview. Then I'm going to give you examples. I'm going to show you my actual fabrics and how I would do this. And then I will do the same thing with the paper flowchart. But I think for you to understand what I'm doing, I need to start by just showing you how it's built up, as it were. So, at the very top of the flowchart, my first question is it good for a cover? Is the fabric you've got good for a cover? And it divides into yes and no. So yes here and no here. And if it is good for a cover, let's follow that branch. It is good for a cover. Then the next step is to cut it to size and to put it in a cover box. Because at the bottom here, this is the bottom of the flowchart, there are different kinds of boxes. So everything ends up in a box. It can be a recycling box if you don't like the piece, or a cell box, a background box, a border box, cluster box, tab box, tuck box, journaling card box, pocket box, side pocket box, applique box, or cover box. So there's a lot of boxes, but that's the thing, we want to get organized. So the simplest process in this flowchart is for the fabric that does fit a cover, because you cut it down and you put it directly into the cover box. But if it's not good for a cover, let's go up again to that first question. Is it good for a cover? No. Let's follow that branch, because that, you get lots more questions to answer. So if it's not good for a cover because it's too small or you don't really like it as a cover, then the next question is, does it contain a focal point? And in the case of fabric, this is usually like some applique or something, or beadwork or embroidery of some kind. And say that it does contain a focal point. Yes. So this one divides into yes and no as well. So yes and no. So let's go to the yes branch. Then the next step is to fussy cut. You fussy cut out the applique or whatever it is, and then you put it in the applique box. So that's quite simple as well. But if it doesn't contain a focal point, which is, most of the cases, then you go to the no branch, and then things get complicated. No, they don't. Then the next question is it pretty? What do I mean by that? Well, do you want to see this piece of fabric? Do you want to see a lot of it when you leaf through your journal? Is it something you want to showcase? And let's start with no. It's not pretty. This one divides into yes and no, just like the other ones. So let's go to the no branch. Well, if it's not pretty, would it function as a background? Behind something else to frame it? Maybe it's a dark color like brown or black or something. Is it good as background? If it is, you know, these divide into yes and no. Say that it is good as a background, then you rip or cut squares or some other, you know, form or shape, and you put it in a background box. So that's a box you go to when you want backgrounds for clusters or whatever. But, you know, there are no focal points, there are no pretty pieces. It's, you know, the basis that you start with, and you put all the pretty things on top. If it's not good as a background, you hate this piece, well, then the natural step is to get rid of it, which means that you put it in a sell box if you sell kits on Etsy, or just, you know, you hoist it onto someone else, or you put it in the recycling box for fabrics. But say that we do like it, it is pretty. So let's go back up the tree to the is it pretty question. And this time we'll go to the yes branch. Then the question becomes, how do we want to show it off? Because there are so many different ways to incorporate pretty fabrics in a journal. And I think that the first question you need to ask yourself is, do you want it to be big or small? Is it a fabric that fits, you know, that would look good if you see a lot of it, a large piece? Or would it look better if it was small? So if you want to show it off in a big way, you want big pieces where you see a lot of the fabric, then there are 3 different things you can do with them. So this is the big branch. And you can see it branches into 3 boxes here. You can cut side pockets, you know, pockets for putting on the edge of a page in a journal. You can cut squares, or you can cut triangles. And maybe you could cut other shapes as well. I don't know, but these are the shapes I want. And when you've cut a side pocket, you put it in the side pocket box. When you've cut squares, you put it either in the pocket box or journaling card box. So what I mean by side pocket and pocket, the side pocket is long and sits at the edge of a page, and the pocket is at the bottom of a page that you put like postcards or whatever into. And the journaling card box is for making journaling cards, obviously. And when you've cut triangles, you can put it in a tuck box for making tucks. But say that it's a fabric that you think would look better in small pieces. And I'll give you examples of this as I go through this, you know, in more detail with real life examples. You want to show it off in small pieces. Well, there are 3 alternatives, or alternative routes here as well. You can cut tabs and put it in the tab box. You can cut random bits, you know, just any shapes, and put it in a cluster box. Or you can cut strips, like narrow strips of fabric, and put it in a border box for putting borders onto pages. And that's it. Those are the options that you have in my flowchart. So let's try this with actual stuff. So we go back to the top, and the first question, which is it good for a cover? And let's have a look at this. This is part of a cushion cover that is already partly cut down, but it would be really good for a cover because look. It is the right size and it's beautiful. It's velvet and has this really warm sheen. So yes, my answer is yes. Which means I need to cut it to size, and it's double because it's a cushion cover, so the back is still attached to the front and we don't want that because this is going into the cover box. And when we're in a crafting mood and go to the cover box to find pieces for our next journal cover, we don't want to start by cutting things or, you know, we don't want to hassle. We want ready-made pieces for our project. So this will be perfect to find. Maybe we want to do or make an autumn journal, for example, and this is just perfect as a base for that. So we fold this up and put it in a cover box together with these wine boxes or whatever bases you use. So you have everything you need to start a cover in the cover box. All right, let's move on to a fabric that doesn't fit a cover, like this, for example. This is too small to cover a whole wine box, and you may say that, oh, but you can make a you know, like a focal point, a cluster on the cover, like say that you've started a journal and you can use part of this fabric to make something pretty on the front. You know, you put images, I don't know, like I'm just grabbing things from my desk now, so you know, this kind of thing. But it still goes into another box, because yes, you can use this to make something for a cover, but you might want to use it for something else that is, you know, smaller, like a journaling card or a tuck or something. So let's stay with the flowchart. It doesn't fit a whole cover. Then the next question, does it contain a focal point? Obviously no, so let's go to no. Is it pretty? Yes, it's very pretty. I love the sheen of this one as well, so yes. Okay, how to show it off? Big or small? And I think, I mean, this could be part of a small cluster or something, but I think I prefer it to be big, like part of a big pocket or journaling card perhaps. So let's go with big. And then my options are to cut side pockets, cut squares, or cut 4 pockets or journaling cards, or cut triangles. And I feel that this, as I said, this will make for a perfect journaling card. So I'm going to cut, well, not a square, but a rectangle, you know, but it's a 4-sided shape. So this I could make a journaling card from, so it goes into the journaling card box. I still have a piece here, so maybe I could make a pocket out of this. But I might even go so far as to, let's see, I'm just going to fold a piece of paper, say that this is a page in a journal, then to make a pocket at the bottom, this would be too big, so I'm going to cut again to fit the page. And why do I do this? Because this piece is more ready for use as a pocket than a piece that is slightly too big. And because now this goes into the pocket box, and we still have pieces left that are not big, they are small. So let's go to the small branch of the flowchart. Well, what can I do with this? I can cut tabs, I can cut random bits and put into clusters, or I can cut strips and put in a border box. Well, these are too short to cut strips for borders, because borders are supposed to, like for this page, you would need this length, and I don't have that. So this I can make either a cluster from or a tab. And I think, does it, I mean, it could be a tab. This one could be a tab if you put something else on top. So that one's going to go into the tab box. But this one and this one, I think this one will go directly into the cluster box because it can be part of a cluster. Say that you put it together with this and maybe a piece of a doily, you know, you make something of this. It's the right size for a cluster, so it goes into the cluster box. But this one, I can choose, you know, another tab or random bits for a cluster box. I think I'm going to cut it down like this, and I'm going to remove because there's a seam or something at the edge that I don't like. So these go into the cluster box as well. So I'm left with these. Can I do anything with these? Well, I could put them in the cluster box to, you know, make some kind of, I don't know, something, but I don't like them. So let's go back up. Is this pretty? No, it's not, because you don't see the sheen, I don't think, really well. So is it good as a background? No. Well, get rid of it. Okay, I'm tossing it. Let's take another example. What do we have? This one. This is the inside of a dress, you know, the lining. So let's go back up. Is it good for a cover? No, too small. Does it contain a focal point? No. Is it pretty? Well, no, it's not pretty. It's just black. Is it good as a background though? Yes, I think it is. So then the next step is to rip or cut squares and put in a background box. So I'm just gonna try to, well, beats me. There. And I'm gonna remove the seam just like I did with the orange fabric. Here's another seam. So all of this could be background for, you know, a big piece, maybe one that you put on a cover, but I don't like the size. I want smaller pieces because they inspire me more, and you can always put two of these together to make a large piece because it's a background, so you won't see it, that they're sort of divided. Same goes for this one. It could work as, for example, background on a journaling card, or, you know, even a cluster. You could cut it down to cluster size and use as a background in them. But all of these pieces will just go into the background box because they're not pretty. So go to the background box to find stuff that I'm not afraid of using in any way. And, you know, it's black, so it makes for a good background. Say that you put something orange on top, it really pops when the background is black. Ooh, look, that would look great in a October journal. So those pieces go into the background box, and we have these scraps left. So the question is, we still don't think that they are pretty, and they don't really function as background. I guess you could cut them down and put in clusters. So yeah, I don't know, maybe, yeah. Yes, I am going to cut them down in, you know, to cluster size, but they still go into the background box, not into the cluster box, because the cluster box is for pretty fabric. So background, this I'm just going to chuck because it's, yeah. So we have one more example to go through, and that's when there is a no, wait, there are a few more. Let's go to the Is It Pretty? Yes branch, how to show off. I have talked about tabs and strips and random bits, but I haven't talked about, well, if you want to show it off in a big way, you know, you want a lot of this fabric to be visible. Like for example, this one, this is beautiful. It's from a cushion cover. And maybe, you know, I feel like, well, this would make for a beautiful tuck. So I can cut a triangle from this to use as the basis for a tuck at the edge of a page. You could put other stuff on top of it, or just leave it like that, or, you know, back it with paper. So this would go into the tuck box. And I haven't really talked about the strips thing. So if you want to show off something in a small way, in narrow pieces, you could cut, I don't want to cut this one like that, but this one perhaps. I still have a piece from the orange fabric, and this might make for a beautiful, let's see what happens if I rip it. This could work as border on a page. So I've ripped it into a strip, and say that I have a page that I want to embellish. I can put it like this, and I can even sew ruffles from strips like this if I have the urge. So this would go into the border box. So you see all the pretty fabric, they go into 7 different boxes. The side pocket box, the pocket box, journaling card box, tuck box, tab box, cluster box, and border box. And it all depends on whether you want it to be shown off in small pieces or big ones. And the same fabric can go different ways, you know, because in the end, when you cut these big pieces, you end up with smaller pieces that you can then put in the border boxes, cluster boxes, and so on. So, final possibility, when a fabric contains a focal point. So let's see if we have one of those. Well, here is one I made earlier. This was part of a dress. So there were these appliques, or embroidery, I guess, all over the front. Very beautiful, but I couldn't wear it because of reasons. So I sort of fussy cut it out, because that's what you do when you have a focal point. And then you put it in an applique box. So a box full of these beautiful fabric things that you could put on a cover, on a cluster, whatever. It depends on the size. I am going to mention another possibility, because all of these boxes that I've been talking about are, you know, they organize your pieces by by function. So, you know, is this going to be used for a pocket or a cluster or a border or a background? You know, what function does it have? But there is an alternative way of storing these things, because sometimes a piece really speaks to you from a themed point of view. So an alternative, you know, what you can always ask yourself about everything that you organize is, does it fit a theme? So you can have themed boxes as well. For example, this is my October box, where I have started on a cover, or I've made a cover that I'm going to, you know, put some kind of picture on the front, add signatures. I have images from magazines. I have, you know, I've started journaling cards. I have borders that are black, so I'll put them directly into this October box. I have trims that I think fit the theme. I have some lace, black lace, gold, all of these beautiful things that fit October. Photograph that I took, pieces from an old top. So that is like a parenthesis. You can make themed boxes as well, but I do recommend that you first organize everything according to function, and then you can pick and choose from those boxes and make themed boxes where you know, you take one piece from the cover box, then you take borders from the border box that fit your theme, and so on. Just to, you know, be sure what you're doing with your stuff. All right, that's the fabric done. Next thing is the paper flowchart. And as I said, it's nearly identical. But the difference here is that instead of asking at the beginning, is it good for a cover? You ask, is it good for a signature? So you ask, you know, if you have a piece of paper, is this good for a signature? Can I fold it and it's the right size? And if the answer is yes, then you cut it to size and fold. Sometimes you have big pieces of paper that you need to cut. In this case, it's already folded, but you can just fold it and put it in a signature box. So the signature box for paper is like the same thing as a cover box for fabric. It's the big stuff, the big pieces of paper that, you know, that's the easy part, to just fold papers and put it in the signature box. And if we go back to the top and answer no, it's not good for a signature because, okay, maybe this one. This is not good for a signature. Well, it could be because you could fold it like this, and because all pages don't need to be the same size, so you decide if it's good for a signature or not. But in this case, there is writing on the back, so then I would have to cover this, or, you know, it's a hassle. It's a hassle. It's not good for a signature. So I'm going to answer a no. It doesn't contain a focal point. Same question as for fabric. So I'll go to the no branch. Is it pretty? Yes, it is. This is from a book about weaving, I think. So I go to the yes branch. And then the question here, just as with fabric, is how to show it off, big or small. And I think this needs to be big, because if I just cut a small piece, you won't see the pattern, because the pattern is quite big. So I'm going to go with big. Then my options are, again, to cut side pockets, to cut squares for pockets at the bottom of a page or for journaling cards, or to cut triangles and put in a tuck box. And I think that it would be beautiful as a pocket. So, you know, at the bottom of a page. So I will begin by removing the excess here. Just eyeballing it as usual, because, you know, I have no patience. And it could be this height, I think. That would look good. So this would go into a pocket box. And the pocket box could be, you know, you can have fabric and paper in the same box if you like, because they're the same boxes. There's a pocket box for fabric and a pocket box for paper, or you have them all in the same one. It depends on perhaps how much stuff you've got. You know, maybe your fabric fills up its own box, so It depends how granular you want your system to be. I'm going to put it in a designated paper pocket box. Away it goes. Okay, so we have, we still have pieces of this paper. So what do I want to do with that? I could cut triangles to make tucks. Yeah, why not? I'm going to cut this into 2 triangles. There. Now I have the start of 2 tucks, or, diagonal pockets, or whatever you want to call it. So these would go into the tuck box, either a designated paper tuck box or together with the fabrics that are cut like this in triangles. Okay, so now we have this strip left. It's no longer big. So let's go to the small branch, and this is already a strip. So it could go directly into the border box, and this would look beautiful as a border on a page like this. So yes, it's going into the border box. More examples. Let's see what we have here. Oh, this one. It's from a book about fabrics in different parts of the world. This one, how do I want to show it off? Because it is pretty. We're still in the pretty branch of the flowchart. How to show off? I think quite big, because again, the pattern is quite big. And this time I'd like to cut side pockets. Pockets that you put along the side like this. So this would work. It's like a strip, but not as narrow. It's a broader strip of paper that you then use. You put it on the side here, you glue these edges, and maybe you put a trim or something to finish it off, make it look polished. But this would go directly then into the side pocket box, together with fabric side pockets or not. Let's see, side pockets, we've done the pocket, and journaling card. Let's take this one. We're still in the pretty branch. How to show it off big. And this time I wanna cut squares, but not for pockets, but for journaling cards. So this would be the basis of a journaling card then, I suppose. So would it be, it depends on what size you want. This could be, yeah, why not? Let's make this into a journaling card. There. So we have the basis, we can glue paper on the back and put something, focal point on top and so on. But it goes into the journaling card box. And then we have this strip left. We could make a tiny tuck with, if we cut it diagonally here into a triangle. Actually like that idea. Why not? Yes, let's make a tuck. And another one. So those 2 go into the tuck box with the other triangles. But we still have this piece, and why not? I mean, now it's really small, so we go to the small branch, and why not make this a tab? It would work, even though it's paper. I usually only use fabric for tabs, but this would really work. So into the tab box it goes. Yes, so we haven't done the cluster thing yet. So let's take this piece of paper, because this is not really my thing. It's too busy, this pattern. So I would like to show it off in a small way. And I think ripping random bits and putting it in the cluster box would work. So like this, because then you could, let's see what I've got here. Can't find anything. Let's say that I want to make a cluster. I start with a doily, then I put this on. Maybe I put some inked paper. What else? I haven't got anything that fits, but maybe a paper doily. Why not? Lots of lacy stuff on the same cluster. So there we go. Well, something like this, you know. It would be part of a small thing, and maybe a picture here of some kind, focal point, and you wouldn't see a lot of the pattern, and that's the point, because I'm not that psyched about it. So this all goes into the cluster box, and the rest of this as well. I can make larger pieces as well if I want to make a large cluster, but it's supposed to go, it's supposed to be in the background, sort of. So let's look at a piece that isn't pretty at all. Okay, well, what about this one? This is a good example. Now, you might find this beautiful, but I don't. So I'm going to cut out the piece that actually has color. This is from another book about fabrics. And, you know, some of those pages are really beautiful and some of them I don't care for. But I can still use them, because is it good as a background? Yes, it might actually be good for a background. Say that, you know, maybe this is not the best fit, but you could put something on top so that this is just barely visible. Maybe something dark, like, yeah, this could work if this was smaller. Actually, I'm going to try that. Because this has a focal point, and I like it. So, just to see, you know, it could work. Oh, I need to cut it down even more. Yeah, it, you know, because it forms a border behind this image. So I would cut it down like that too. You know, then it works. So it does work as a background, which means that you can rip or cut squares and put it in the background box, either together with fabrics or not. And if it is really ugly, if you hate it and it doesn't work as a background, but you think, I mean, say that I think, no, I don't even like it as a background, then I could sell it. I could put this into a kit and sell it, or give it away, or, you know, get rid of it. So, have I gone through everything? I think so. Oh, the focal point box. If the piece of paper contains a focal point, well, like this one, for example, this could be a background to something if you don't particularly care for blueberries, but it could also, you could fussy cut this because it is a focal point. So yes, there's a focal point. You fussy cut this and put it in a focal point box. So that's quite a simple choice. So signature box, focal point box, side pocket, pocket, journaling card, tuck, tab, cluster, border, background, and sell or recycling boxes. I think, you know, this flowchart, the point of it is that you take these big nebulous things from your stash that you don't really know what to do with, and then you just break it down into smaller and smaller pieces, and, you know, you start with maybe or you start with the covers or the signatures, and if it's not good for that, can you make tucks, pockets, borders, and this, you know, you cut it down more and more, and in the end you're left with these small bits and pieces that you put in the cluster box. So that way you've used up the whole thing, and now you've got ingredients for all your projects. Like, you can go to your cluster box and pick things, or you can go, if you want to just embellish the edge of a page, you go to the border box or the side pocket box and choose a fitting side pocket or strip, and you know, it's all there for you. You don't have to start thinking, oh, maybe this could be a border or something, and then you have to cut down the whole piece, and you don't, you know, oh, but what if I want to make a cover out of this? Well, you've already made that decision when you've followed this flowchart, so you don't need to sweat it. You can just, you know, follow the plan. And now I'm going to put the flowcharts on the screen so you can screen capture them if you think this is a good idea for you. And of course, feel free to change them and adapt them to your needs, but this, I think, is a good place to start.